Today I will be going to discuss a topic about wounds, which is very important and a very basic topic, and it's a very general surgery starting topic. So, uh, so what is wound? So, so definition as it comes, it is defined as a breach in the epithelial continuity of the tissue. So any tissue, if there is a breach in continuity of any tissue, either epithelial tissue or any other mesenchymal tissue inside the body or any tissue, it will be defined as wound. So, so the next we will go to classification. So there are a lot of types of classifications we'll have. So the most useful one is given by Rank and Wakefield. So what was this classification? He classified wounds into tidy and untidy wounds. Tidy means clean wounds. So whereas untidy, not so clean wounds. Actually, there are other types of classification also. So this is very popular classification, that is Rank and Wakefield. So what is tidy wounds? So these are inflicted with sharp objects. So in this there is no devitalization of the tissue. That is there is no dead tissue. So only there will be only opening like incision, or if you do any surgery, we give incision, that will be there. So they are clean. They should be clean immediately. So examples of these tidy wounds are surgical incisions, cut wounds by glass or knives, and also these wounds can involve nerve, tendons, arteries, and these wounds you should primarily suture. You have to suture it immediately, tidy wounds. So if you don't suture it, it will yeah, it won't heal properly. So next is, so this is one diagram showing tidy wound where you can see split open face from water to extent. So the edges are neat. You can see this is tidy wound. The edges are neat. So after primary suturing of this wound, you can see the picture. It's really cool. Uh, the picture is really uh, good. So tidy wounds you have to suture it as soon as possible. So next is untidy wounds. Untidy wounds, they are uh, as a result of crushing, tearing, avulsion, vascular injuries, and burns. So untidy wounds, they contain devitalized tissue. So if the patient falls down, if there is dead of the tissue or there is any gap of the tissue, those all comes under untidy wounds. So, so I already said, in all of these above injuries, the crushing, tearing, there is some amount of devitalization of tissue present. So in these untidy wounds, usually you will have multiple irregular, and most of the tendons, arteries, nerves are usually exposed. They will become exposed. Whereas in tidy wounds, they can be cut, but they are not more exposed. Okay. So if these wounds are not closed immediately, because if you close immediately, they will not heal, and they will result into wound dehiscence or wound healing. So that is not, that's called as improper wound healing. Wound dehiscence is nothing but improper wound healing. So this is about untidy wounds. This is one type of classification, tidy and untidy. So here you can see a human's hand is trapped in molding machine, resulting in combination of crush and burns. So here you can see a lot of dead tissue lost. So and also there is a burn injury. So this is called devitalization of tissue present. That is, there will be dead tissue present. So these untidy wound must be accessed. So you have to debride it. What we do for this is we don't suture it. We what we do is we debride it. Debride means we remove this all dead tissue, and after few days we do suturing. After few days, not immediately, because if you do immediately, it won't heal. Okay. So there is one more classification. This is classification of surgical wounds. Right? Surgical wounds. How do you classify surgical wounds? This is entirely different classification. Generally, they ask a question like classify wounds and stages of wound healing. And one more question will be like what are the things factors affecting wound healing? These are very important questions. It's a long question. Most of the times they will ask classification of surgical wounds because this is surgical topic. It's very important. So, what is the classification? We will have four types. First is clean wound, second is clean contaminated, third one is contaminated wound, and fourth one is dirty infected wound. So, what is these types? First is clean. Clean is nothing but uninfected operative wound without any inflammation. Just if you do some surgery, if you do incision, that is clean. Without anything, you just incise, you take a incision on the skin, that comes under clean. So you are not entering into any other hollow viscous like respiratory tract, alimentary tract, genital, or uninfected urinary tracts uh, are not to be entered. So in clean wounds only you should not have any inflammation. Then next is clean contaminated. Clean contaminated are operative wounds into the respiratory, alimentary, and genital tract or uninfected urinary tracts. So without unusual contamination. So operative wounds, if you open lung, if you open bowel, if you open any bladder, urinary bladder, gallbladder, whatever it is, then it comes under clean contaminated wound. So next is contaminated. Contaminated wounds are nothing but open, fresh, accidental wounds, operations with major breaks in sterile techniques, or cross spillation gastrointestinal. So, and incisions in which acute non-covalent inflammation is required. So, contaminated and clean contaminated, they are similar, but clean contaminated we do as an elective procedure, whereas contaminated it's an emergency, like if the person is having an appendicitis or any cholecystitis, there is inflammation. Inflammation is there, but there is no pus. That means there is no non-covalent inflammation. There is no pus. So contamination is there. So in that case, we call it as contaminated wounds. Finally, dirty wounds. Dirty wounds nothing but we are opening into all these respiratory, alimentary, genital, or uninfected immunity, but we are entering into a dirty wound, that is a pus, where there is pus. Example is perforated viscera, that means perforated intestines. If there is perforated intestine, there will be pus. So, if you enter into a pus, that means a typical example of dirty wound is abscess. Abscess is a very typical example. If you enter into abscess, that itself it is a dirty wound. Whereas contaminated wounds are nothing but if you fall down, if you fell down on the road, that will be called as contaminated wound. Open, fresh, accidental wounds, all accidental wounds, road traffic accident wounds, they are all called as contaminated. Clean contaminated is nothing but just elective case. We are entering into some. These all three types. That is clean contaminated. Clean is we're not entering into anything, just incising the skin. Clean is incising the skin. Clean contaminated is entering into the respiratory, alimentary, genital tract. Contaminated is any road traffic accidents or any aberrations, contusions, as well as entering into any infected thing like acute cholecystitis, acute appendicitis. If you enter into that cavity which where there is inflammation, infection and inflammation, that is called as contaminated. And dirty wound is if there is pus, already pus is formed, already the tissue is there. If you enter into that, then it's called dirty wound. I think you are all clear about this clean contaminated, dirty. Very important. They can ask you for 2 marks question also. So next we go for types of wounds. This is one more type of wounds. So first is contusion. As you all know, as I think you have finished your forensic medicine. There you will have contusion, abrasions, and everything. Contusion is a closed wound, and it results as a it's due to bleeding into tissue with visible discoloration. So contusion is nothing but closed wound with discoloration of the skin. So if the amount of bleeding is more into the tissues, then it forms a swelling like thing, then that is called hematoma. So sometimes hematoma may resolve, sometimes it may get infected. If it is get infected, you have to evacuate immediately. It will forms into abscess, so you have to evacuate immediately. So this infected hematoma is also a dirty one because it's already got infected. So it is a dirty one. Infected hematoma, not hematoma. Hematoma is again, it's not a dirty one. It comes under a clean wound because it's collection of blood in the uh, subcutaneous tissue. Okay. So, but if it gets infected, it will form pus. So, if there is pus, then it's called as abscess. So, abscess is a dirty wound. Next is bruise. Bruise is nothing but it's a very small. If you fall down, you get small superficial tear of skin. Then that is called bruise. So bruise, we don't have any no need to do any treatment. Just because it will heal by itself in course of time. So blunt injury, we will discuss. That's an entirely different topic. Blunt injury. So so next is open wounds. These are the one more type, open wounds and closed wounds. Already I told you about discussed about closed wounds. Now we're discussing about open wounds. One is punctured wounds. Punctured wounds is an open injury in which foreign material and organisms are carried into the tissue. Like for example, some carpenter is doing some work. Sometimes because of what do you say? Uh, by mistake some nail or something enters into his body, then it's called punctured wound. And also needle-stick injuries. We give as a doctors we give injections. Sisters also give injections, or we keep IV lines, that is intravenous lines, we secure it. So these are all comes under punctured wounds. So okay, if there is a foreign material inserted into the skin or into the body, then you need radiology, like radiological diagnosis. So that means you need X-ray or CT scan to detect where is this foreign material. Okay, so treatment of these punctured wounds will be you have to irrigate the wound, clean the wound. Irrigation is nothing but cleaning the wound, and antibiotics followed the removal of large foreign bodies from the tissue. Small fragments that are difficult to remove may be left like that. In cinemas also, you might have seen some they a few movies for blood particles the doctors sometimes they left behind because if they can leave behind this blood particle because they are difficult to be removed sometimes you can leave it like that one. Okay, and needle injuries are also, as I already said, needle injuries are also punctured wounds and occur particularly concerned for hospital staff for hepatitis B infection. So in that case you have to be immunized against hepatitis B. So punctured wounds are also caused by dog and human bites. Adequate treatment should be given against rabies and infection because dogs cause rabies. That is rabies virus. So it's a viral infection. Rabies is so abrasions is a shearing injury of the skin in which surface is rubbed off. Treatment, you all know abrasions, nothing. Cleaning, dressing, and antibiotics. Antibiotics also not very much needed for abrasions. Lacerations are nothing but seen in those rotification often contaminated with dirt and materials. So lacerations comes under untidy wounds. Just remember, laceration comes under untidy wounds, whereas incisions, surgical incision comes under tidy. Abrasion also, you can call it as untidy because during abrasion also some foreign particles can enter into your body. So small amount of dehydration tissue can be there in abrasions also. Okay. So sometimes in lacerations they are crushed. These because of road traffic accident or because of any other thing, that crushing may occur, resulting in dead tissue of the skin and muscles. Okay. Laceration is a typical example of untidy. Just remember that. So this is a type of laceration and untidy wound. It's a type of under, and there you can see a lot of exposure of tendons and muscles are exposed, and the margin is also not good. Okay. So next is phases of wound healing. So what is how this wound healing occurs? After you get a wound by road traffic accident or by falling on the ground by any domestic violence or whatever it is. So how do this wound healing occurs? There are what are the phases? So it occurs in three phases. One is inflammatory phase, next is proliferative phase, and the third one is remodeling phase. So what are these phases? We will and these are also very important phases. You have to know these phases. Okay. So first is inflammatory phase. So what happens when there is any injury, when there is any injury to the tissue, uh, obviously these cells like platelets, red blood cells, white blood cells, they will come. So first cells to come is platelets and RBCs. So these come and they form a clot. RBCs also help. Most probably, the most important cell to form a clot is platelet, and they will form fibrin and all the hemostasis occurs. But RBCs also helps in formation of this clot. So after this formation of clot, so this clot forms and it will stop bleeding. Okay. So after that, what happens? The cells of inflammation. Cells of inflammation means WBCs, that is neutrophils, macrophages. They will come. The second stage is first stage is RBCs, platelets. Second stage is WBCs, that is leukocytes. That is neutrophils and macrophages. They will come. First neutrophils will come, then macrophages will come. First neutrophils, then macrophages. Neutrophils and macrophages, they secrete some chemokines and some cytokine-like things, and with the help of these all cells, they will debride the injured tissue. That means the injured tissue will contain some bacteria, virus, whatever it is. They will debride. Debride is they will eat away this all injured tissue. So this process of all the this process is called inflammation. That is the first stage. So next stage is proliferate phase. After 1 day, 2 days, after few days, what happens is epithelialization occurs. Epithelialization means the epithelial tissue starts forming, and also from the surface it starts forming. Whereas fibroplasia, that is fibroblast comes and it will form. Fibroblast comes and it will form. It will increase in number and it will fibrosis occurs. And angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is nothing but formation of new blood vessels occur. Okay. Additionally, granulation tissue forms and wound begins to contract. So the wound begins to contract and the wound edges will come to the contractions. In other words, wound edges will come to the. This is wound edge. It will come nearer, so that they can meet in line, so that they can meet in line. That is called proliferative phase. Proliferative phase, we will have epithelialization, we will have fibroplasia, and we will have angiogenesis, and finally the granulation tissue, which is again there are types of granulation tissue: healthy granulation tissue and unhealthy granulation tissue. Healthy granulation tissue results in wound healing, whereas unhealthy granulation tissue results in impaired wound healing. Okay, so with the help of this granulation tissue, the wound begins to contract. And the final stage is after this proliferation phase will take a lot of time. After this, maturation phase will occur. So what happens in maturation phase is this collagen. Collagen is the last component. So what happens? This will form tight crosslinks with each other. That is with one collagen fiber to another fiber, and with protein molecules. So what this help? This will form increase the tensile strength of the scar. It will increase the tensile strength of the scar. So first is inflammatory, where cells of inflammation came. Second is proliferation, where cells of epithelial cells, fibroblasts, and new blood vessel formation and granulation tissue comes. That is proliferation. The cells are getting proliferated. And finally is maturation phase. Maturation phase is very last stage, and it will take very long time. It will take around. I will show you the picture. So these are the stages. Day 1 to 3, you will have hemostasis, that is stop bleeding by the cells of platelets and other. And day 3 to 20, you will have inflammation, where new framework for blood vessel growth occurs. That means these all neutrophils, macrophages come and they will start a process called inflammatory process. Okay. Then week 1 to 6 pulls the wound close. That is proliferation and granulation occurs in week 1 to 6. Mostly that's why it will take around 1 to 2 weeks for the wounds to heal. If the wound is very small, it will take not much of a time. If the wound is very big, it will take a lot of time because the proliferation and granulation tissue to form, it will take some time. Final is remodeling or maturation. The phase is also called as remodeling phase. So it will take around week, 6 weeks to from 6th week to 2 years. It will take around 1 year, 9 months, 1 year, 9 months or 10 months. It will take for remodeling and maturation to occur. So that is all about phases. Here it is given 4 phases. So you can skip this. We can add this hemostasis into this implementation. So we have only 3 phases: implementary phase, proliferatory phase, and remodeling. In Delian law, it has given 3 phases only. 1, 2, 3. Then wound healing. Wound healing again, it's of 2 types. Actually, it's of 3 types, not 2 types. For primary intervention, secondary intervention, tertiary. There is one more called tertiary intervention. But for uh, general topic or for knowing anything, we consider only primary and secondary interventions. But in most of the books, they have given tertiary intervention also. So what is this primary intervention and what is this secondary intervention? We'll see. So first intervention, primary intervention is nothing but if the tidy wounds. Just remember, if the wound is tidy, it will heal by first intervention. That means surgical incisions are tidy wounds, and they are best examples. These are clean and carefully approximated with sutures. So what is the first intervention? We have to suture it. We have to suture it by using some material or else staples or tapes. So without leaving any dead space. So first intention healing is nothing but healing of clean wounds or healing of tidy wounds by sutures. That is a clear definition of first intention. That is healing of wound, that is tidy wounds or clean wound. We're going to say classifications are different. By using sutures, staples or tapes.
పుట్ట మీద బుగ్గ వాడినని వాడు కాదు అయిపోయింది.
So you have to carefully approximate either with sutures, staples, or tips. That is the first intention. So what is second intention? So second intention wounds, secondary intention healing is for untidy wounds or lacerated wounds. If there is some foreign particles are present, if they have to debride it, that means we have to remove this all pus or dead tissue. Then we have to leave the healing process by itself. No need to suture the wound. That is, no need to suture this laceration or any other untidy wounds. So the process of healing occurs by itself. We have to leave it like that for 5 to 10 days. After that, it will heal itself. So that is secondary intention. Secondary intention is for untidy wounds and laceration or any contaminated wounds, whereas primary intention is for wounds of tidy wounds, okay? Wounds of clean and incisions. So here you can see differences between primary and secondary union. Differences between healing by primary and secondary intention. So in primary, the cleanliness, it is clean. That is, edges are clean and it is clean wound. Whereas secondary, it is not clean. Infection, primary, you won't do primary intention of healing if they are infected. If they are infected, you have to go for secondary type of healing. That means you don't have to suture it. Margins surgically clean, whereas margins are irregular in secondary type of healing. Sutures, you have to use sutures for primary healing for the wound to get healed by primary intention. Whereas for secondary, don't use anything. Don't suture it. If you suture it, again the suture material will get infected. So there is no need. Whereas healing, you will have small granulation tissue because there is no devitalization of the tissue. There is no dead tissue you can see in primary. That is in small cuts or clean cuts, you won't have any major loss of tissue. So you will have, if there is no major loss of tissue, you will have small granulation tissue. Whereas in secondary intention, that is in anterior wounds, you will be a lot of devastation of tissue. So obviously, it heals with large granulation tissue, very huge amount of granulation tissue. So finally, outcome. What is the outcome? How will be the scar at home? You will have a linear scar. That means you will have a straight scar. Whereas in secondary type of healing, you will have irregular wound. You will have irregular scarring and irregular wound. So then complications. Primary, you won't have any complications. Whereas secondary frequent complications like wound adhesions, wound. Sometimes it may go into abscess. Sometimes it may go into keloids. So I will discuss that complications in the next class, in the next slides, in the coming slides. Okay. So, what are the factors that influence wound healing? The questions regularly asked question is write the phases and stages of wound healing and factors that influence. That is for 3 months and this is for 6 months. Factors that influence the healing of wounds. So, what are the factors? You will have systemic factors. You will have local factors. So, what are the general or systemic factors? One is age. You all know wound healing is rapid in children, whereas it is delayed in elderly people. Nutritional status. Because the nutritional status is not good in malnourished patients and also in old people. So the wound healing is delayed in old as well as in malnourished patients. Then one more is steroiding. If the patients are taking long-term steroids, because steroids they are anti-inflammatory. Steroids are anti-inflammatory. They they are these people are very more prone for infection because inflammation is the one thing which will control the infection. So if there is no inflammation, there will be uh, infection, more infection. So less inflammation, more infection. So these steroids which acts as a anti-inflammatory drugs. So obviously, if you take steroids for a long term, you will be more prone for infection and delayed healing. Immunosuppressants. So people on immunosuppressants like cytotoxic drugs, anti-cancer therapy. These wounds will break down and it will cause delayed wound healing. And also conditions like jaundice, uremia, diabetes, and other chronic illnesses also causes delayed healing. So these are all the uh, general factors which causes delayed healing. So what factors influencing healing? Which the local factors. So what are the local factors? So local factors. One is infection. If there is abscess, if there is pus, wound healing won't occur. It will go into secondary healing. It won't be a primary intention healing. It will be secondary intention healing. Poor blood supply. If there is a poor blood supply, um, uh, like if the person is having any arterial disease, the person is having any arterial disease where there is a poor blood supply, obviously the patient's the healing won't occur properly, so the wound healing will be impaired. So next is foreign bodies. If there is some foreign body like small uh, stones or any sand particles, then again wound healing will be impaired. Movement, that means immobility. The wound healing will be less if the wound is on the joint spaces, joints like knee joint, elbow joint, ankle joint, because there will be movement. So obviously, more movement, the approximation will be less. Obviously, wound healing won't occur properly. So if there is any wound present on the joints, you have to immobilize the joint. Otherwise, the wound healing will not occur. Next is exposure to ionizing radiation and also UV light. Exposure to ionizing radiation are nothing but X-rays, CT scans, or any radiation therapy for carcinomas. So in that case, also causes wound healing, delayed wound healing. So and also type, size, and location of wound determines whether the wound heals by resolution or organization. So what are the complications of wound healing? So what are the complications? So what are the first is first complication of wound healing. These are all the complications you can see in secondary wound healing by secondary or else untidy wounds or else contaminated wounds. First is infection of the wounds due to antibacteria. There is a healing infection. Yeah, the wound can get infected. In that case, you have to give antibiotics and also you have to give anti-inflammatory drugs so that the wound healing will be you can increase the wound healing process of wound healing. Next is stitch abscess. Stitch abscess is nothing but infection of the suture tract. If you do, what do you say? Sometimes what happens if you suture an untidy wound, actually we don't suture the untidy wound or else laceration or else any contaminated, we don't suture. If you suture by mistake, you don't know that some young doctors, they don't know that suturing should not be done. So sometimes they do by mistake. So if you do it, then there is a chance infection of a suture type will occur. That is also called as stitch abscess, where you will have some sinus-like tract and some opening will be there, hole will be there from the pus is coming out. So I don't have a picture to show it, but stitch abscess is also very common. Then is implantation cyst. Implantation cyst is nothing but it occurs due to persistence of epithelial cells in the wound after healing. So if the epithelial cells are present inside the wound, not on the surface, the epitheliation occurs on the surface. If these cells are present inside the wound, it will form implantation cyst or epidermal cyst. So these epithelial cells should not be present inside the wound. Inside the wound, that is in the deeper layers. It should be present in the outer layer. So you all know skin has epidermis, dermis. Epidermal cells, epithelial cells are nothing but epidermis layer. Okay, if they goes inside the dermis or goes inside the subcutaneous tissue to form a cyst called epidermal cyst or implantation cyst. Next is pigmentation. Sometimes pigmentation of field hole may occur at time. It may have a rust-like color due to staining with hemocysteine. Finally, there will be a deficient scar formation due to inadequate formation of granulation tissue. The scar may be different. The scar will be very deficient or it will be very awkward. It will be very irregular sometimes. That is also one of the complications of wound healing. Then incisional hernia or wound essence. So what is this incisional hernia? Hernia is nothing but protrusion of uh, any organ or anything through the defect. So what is the defect? The defect is formed by wound. So if you do surgery, like if you do any abdominal surgery, so if the wound is not healing properly in abdominal surgery, any appendix surgery or whatever it is, so what happens? The scar will become weak. The scar is weak in that case. So these contents and the muscles become weak, and everything will come out of the scar and forms a hernia, forms swelling on the outside of the body. So it's a weak scar, especially after laparotomy. Most probably you will see this incisional hernia after laparotomy. You can also see in other surgeries also. So and finally, the wound may burst open, comes out, and all other organs like intestines and they may come out of the uh, comes to the outside if it bursts open. Okay, that is called incision hernia. Wound is nothing but opening of the wound. Even though if you suture it, sometimes the suture material may not, it doesn't allow, uh, most of the time it doesn't allow the internal organs to come out. But because of increased intra-abdominal pressure or because of any pus inside the abdomen, uh, the suture material will break down and the wound gaping will occur. That is called wound access, wound gaping, and all contents of the abdomen like intestines, small intestine, large intestine, they will come out. In that case, uh, you have to do emergency surgery in that wound essence. So that what we do is we take that intestines and we keep it back inside the abdomen and we close it by a technique called tension suturing. We use here we use tension suturing. This is one more type of suturing. It is not primary incision, secondary incision. It's entirely different. We use tension suture so that the, uh, the intestinal contents, abdominal contents wouldn't come out. Okay, so that is institutional hernia. There is one more complication of wound healing. So next is extruberant granulation of protection. What is this extrusion? Sometimes what happens is wound healing will be more. That means granulation tissue, the production of granulation tissue will be very more. In that case, what happens? This granulation tissue will protrude above the level of surrounding skin. So just like a proud flesh, that it looks like a pinkish, uh, uh, like material, reddish like material. It's look like swelling coming out of the wound. So if you touch that wound, it will bleed. But it's not carcinoma. Carcinomas will also touch on it. It looks like a fleshy like thing. If you touch it, it will bleed. But it's not carcinoma. It's also other name for this extravasant granulation of proliferation is pyogenic granuloma. Okay, pyogenic granuloma. So next complication of a wound is hypertrophic scar and keloid formation. So what is this hypertrophic scar? So sometimes what happens is the scar will be yes, sometimes what happens is there will be excessive formation of collagen. So why this occurs we don't know. Generally, it's some say it is genetic problem, some say some other thing. There will be excess production of collagen. So exuberant granulation proliferation, excess production of granulation tissue, whereas excess production of collagen results in this keloid or hypertrophic scar. Again, keloid is a 2 marks question, and they also ask a question like difference between hypertrophic scars and hypertrophic scar and keloid formation. Okay, because of excess collagen, is both hypertrophic and keloid will occur. Or what is the basic difference between keloid and hypertrophic? Is keloid uh, uh, it is painful and itchy, whereas hypertrophic scar are not very painful, and hypertrophic scar will heal in 6 months. Whereas keloid, it doesn't heal. You have to give treatment, like you have to give steroids, intralesional steroids. You have to inject steroids into the keloid. So it is an excess production because of excess production of collagen. The scar will grow outside. That is keloid. Whereas hypertrophic, the scar doesn't grow outside. It will be within the boundaries of the wound. Next complication is excessive contraction. There is exaggeration of wound contraction or sequestration. This excessive contraction you can generally see in severe, that is severe degree of burns, that is third degree or fourth degree burns. Finally, neoplasm. Rarely squamous cell carcinoma because the wounds mostly present on the skin. Skin consists of epithelial tissue. Cancer of epithelial tissue is called squamous cell carcinoma because we have squamous cells in the epithelial. Squamous cells are the basic cells of epithelium. So you will get squamous cell carcinoma from this scar. That mostly that type of carcinoma where you get it from this scar is called as margarine surgery. Very typical. A scar formed following burns on skin, or also due to some chronic ulcers and also snake bites. These are all if the scar is formed from these burns, uh, snake bite, and chronic venous ulcers. If the scar, that scar may be the site for the development of carcinoma. That carcinoma is called Marjorin's ulcer. Okay, so just remember if the because of wound healing or else improper wound healing, improper scar, it may go into carcinoma. That carcinoma is also called as marginal ulcer, and it is not a acute condition. It will not take in 1 or 2 days. The scar should be there for around 6 months to 1 year. After 1 year, it will form. If the scar, the irregular scar, if it is not healing, then it will go into carcinoma. That is Marjorin's ulcer. So here are some diagrams I am showing you. So here you can see epithelium after injury. Epithelium, this is epithelium. It's started healing. Acute inflammation. So acute inflammation is nothing but neutrophils and everything will came. It started healing. The fibrin clot already formed, and inflammation has started. Here you can see inflammation and fibroblast. Next is it started to contract. So the wound is getting uh, smaller and smaller. So new blood vessels that also already told you that about angiogenesis. angiogenesis, that is formation of new blood vessels. So next is reconstruction phase, that is also called as remodeling phase. So after the wound has been healed, that is reconstruction phase also called. It is a type of proliferation phase in between proliferation and the other. So you can see granulation tissue and epithelialization before. Shit. Before ending my topic, I want to tell what is the treatment of these wounds. So generally, what we do in our surgery department, if the wound is tidy wound like this, so this is a type of tidy wound. Here there will not be there is not much of a tissue loss. That is just tissue, and there is no infection. You can see there is no sand particles and everything, foreign particles. So in that case, we directly suture it. We directly suture it, primary suture of this face. So the person is having less scar. You can see there is no scar here. There is very less scar. Whereas in untidy wounds like crushing, tearing, injuries or burns, you will have dehydration of the tissue. Very important point, dehydration. That is, dead tissue will be present like this in this case. So in this case, we don't do any suturing. Just remember that part. We don't do suturing. What we do is we remove all the dead tissue and we give antibiotics and left it open for secondary healing. Okay. So this is all about wounds and about wound healing cases and healing types, differences and factors. Very important. You will be asked as a foremost question, and complications also very important. So this is some pictures. Uh, I hope you understand this topic. So thank you very much.